I'm Courtney Ingham, and I am a Western tropical astrologer. I offer weekly astrology reports every Monday featuring the planetary and lunar energies for the week ahead. All times mentioned are in Eastern Standard Time. Becoming a subscriber is free, and all subscribers get additional free content. Becoming a paid subscriber is only $5 a month and helps to support this podcast. Paid subscribers receive discounts off of my readings and other offerings. Enjoy the show. Hello, Astro friends. This is your forecast for Monday, September 11th through Sunday, September 17th. This is a quieter week with the exception of the new moon that is happening on Thursday. I will be uploading a full video report on that for you soon. We do have some energies picking up at the end of the week as Mercury stations direct, and that will be happening on Friday. But besides that, it's a rather quiet week. And I'm going to go ahead and start with our lunar report. So during waning crescent moon phases, we focus on what our intention is going to be for the upcoming new moon. And again, that happens on Thursday. That's a new moon in Virgo. This is where we want to look at lessons learned during the Mercury retrograde phase, because Mercury is the planet that is ruling Virgo. We can look into focusing our intention around things that are health related, as Virgo is the sign ruling over health and health matters in general. We can also look into any lessons or understanding we've had around paying attention to the details, focusing our attention on getting actual tasks done, perhaps having a sense around our habits and what needs to change in that department. And we can also focus on our animals, because Virgo is the sign that rules over our pets and our animal friends. Now, we do start the week with the moon in Leo. And with the moon being in Leo, we may feel like we really want to express ourselves. We want to have some attention, perhaps attention for our feelings. This can bring us a lot of security during the moon in Leo phases. And it's a good time, if you're ready to put yourself out there, to focus on doing that during a Leo moon phase. It's also a great time to be creative and joyful, do something fun. The moon will move into Virgo on Wednesday morning, very early Wednesday morning, setting us up for this beautiful new moon in Virgo energy. And the new moon, of course, is when the sun and the moon are conjunct. They are exact. And that happens on Thursday, but the moon is already moving into the sign of Virgo on Wednesday. This will start to allow us to be more focused on solutions. So if there's something big happening, you need to come up with a solution for it. This is a good time to start to think about it. Though I wouldn't take big actions because Mercury is still in retrograde. I'll talk more about that during the planetary aspect report. But it's a good time to really reflect upon any solutions that may need to happen. It's a good time to focus on your health. It's a good time to focus on those habits and routines in your life that may need to be evaluated. Beware during the moon and Virgo phases of being too critical. We can naturally become very critical during these phases, self-critical, critical of others, and we just want to be really aware of that. We will have the new moon happening again on Thursday. That's happening at 9:39 p.m. That's Eastern Standard Time. The degree point is 21 degrees 59. Wow, that's nearly into the 22nd degree. So find that degree point in your chart. Get ready for that new moon by looking at any aspects or any points that may be conjunct that degree point. Now on Friday, we have the moon moving into the sign of Libra. This is where we can become very focused on one-on-one relationships. We may have our attentions drawn to our close relationships. This can be both intimate relationships or partnerships, business partners. And it's a great time to really take matters of balance and fairness into consideration. We might naturally be drawn to looking at these areas of life. We may feel very activated to express our feelings around this. We may also just feel drawn to creating more balance in our lives. Remember, Libra is the scales, so the scales of balance are definitely going to bring our attention and awareness to those aspects. It's also a great time to express our personal aesthetic. That could be in the home, decorating, moving furniture. It could be fashion. Libras tend to be very fashionable. It's a sign ruled by Venus, so of course that makes sense. Just maybe address your personal style. You may naturally feel inclined towards, buying a new piece of clothing or doing something like that would really help you express yourself more. And we will actually have the moon in Libra carrying us through the weekend. And so that's really the big lunar aspects for the week. On Tuesday, we do have that long moon void of course phase. That's going to be a 14-hour, 13-minute moon void of course phase that happens like right after 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So for most of the day on Tuesday, we're really going to follow the direction of this moon void of course. That's when the moon isn't making any aspects with other planets. It's very unusual because the moon moves so quickly. It only spends 2.5 days in a sign. And so when the moon is not making aspects, this is a time where we want to follow the moon's lead, and we want to also just chill. Like, don't make any big plans to start new projects. That would be not a great day to do that. The reason being, as I've said many times before, is because you're not going to have a lot of momentum behind that. You're not going to have a lot of support energizing whatever it is that you do. And naturally, if we're in tune with the moon, we're not going to feel like doing those things. So it's a great time to really be more introspective during these longer moon void, of course, phases that happen. And this one happening on Tuesday is absolutely a longer moon void, of course, phase. We normally will have a few during the week, and they range, but tend to be more around the 3-hour range. So obviously, this is a big deal to pay attention. Tune into your own energy and just see, how are you feeling? Are you feeling more like, sitting back, reflecting? How is that energy resonating with you? Let's move now into the planetary aspect report. So as I mentioned, this is a quieter week until we get to the new moon happening on Thursday, and I'll have the video for you up on those energies. After the new moon on Friday, Mercury is going to station direct. Mercury station retrograde back on August 23rd at 21 degrees of Virgo. On Friday, when Mercury stations direct, it's going to do so at 8 degrees of Virgo. So from 21 back to 8 degrees of Virgo, that's where you want to look in your chart to help you reflect upon what was this period about personally for you. When Mercury stations retrograde, as well as when Mercury stations direct, it actually slows down for a period of time before it comes to a standstill. And these are very important, like the points as to which this happens. It's very intentional. And same thing for when it stations direct. It actually is going to come to another standstill, and then it's very slowly going to pick up momentum. And Mercury usually zips through these signs pretty quickly. Mercury isn't going to pick up momentum until several days later. I was looking to see what is the first aspect that Mercury makes, which I feel like is very important. Because that's where it's going to start to gain its momentum, to gain its force and charge back. And it is going to happen on Monday. So between Friday and Monday, we have a bit of a lull. And actually, on Monday evening, even at 5:52 p.m. Monday evening, Mercury makes its first aspect to the moon. The moon is actually going to be aspecting Mercury, if you want to say it correctly. And that's happening at 8 degrees 44, actually. So between Friday and Monday, you can see that Mercury barely moves, okay? And this is going to be important for you to look at if you do have any points around 8 degrees of Virgo, because that's, of course, where Mercury started its retrograde phase, and that's also where the first aspect that happens. By Wednesday, it's going to start picking up speed, moving into the 9th degree by Wednesday. So at that point on, we're going to have more momentum behind Mercury. It's very, very important, though, as Mercury starts to go direct, that we take time and we reflect upon some of the things that have come up for us during this Mercury retrograde period, for us to understand. Mercury is all about the logic, the mind, and what did we get clarity on during this time? What did we have a new understanding around? And what are some of those points that you want to take forward into your life, apply as Mercury gains momentum and moves forward? You can also use that momentum to drive these understandings forward in your own life. So those are very good things, important things for you to reflect upon. What have you learned around your habits, perhaps, of even perfectionism? Yeah, and it could be service to others. Virgo's very big on service to others. Did you have any understandings around how you want to serve others? It could be around health as well. Did you have any breakthroughs in health? A new routine, new diet, exercise, practice that you'd like to consider starting? And my experience during this Mercury retrograde, I would say that it was a bit of a doozy. Now, I do feel I have a lot of impact. I get a lot of impact from these Mercury retrogrades because I am a Gemini, and the ruler of Gemini is Mercury. Mercury rules both Gemini and Virgo. We had a lot of things come up as far as our car broke down. It's been in the shop for 2 weeks now. We have a rental. We started homeschooling, and I have to admit, it did not start off on this smooth way. It was rather rocky last week. We had a lot of things come up I actually feel like in the past I would have been really just thrown by these things. But I do think because the retrograde happened in Virgo, I stayed in the moment. I had more of a capacity to stay in the moment, to focus on what was right in front of me. And that to me was the key to the potential getting throughness of this whole energy, is to focus on what was right in front of me, to stay in the moment, to stick to my practices, which really supported me. I have a meditation practice. That was a good support for me during this time, for sure. Finally, the planetary aspect that we need to talk about this week is happening on Sunday, very early in the morning, 2:09 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, when we have Venus in the sign of Leo squaring Jupiter, who is retrograde in the sign of Taurus. Now, Venus has been a big player as Venus has recently come out of her own retrograde phase. And Venus and Jupiter are both the great benefics. Tends to be when things happen around Jupiter and Venus that they're good things. And in this particular conversation the two planets are having, this is a square. Square is a difficult aspect. We can kind of look at this. Actually, this is an aspect that's been repeating. I'm going to talk more about this during the new moon presentation, but to hit it briefly here, Venus and Jupiter have been in this square that's been striking exact ever since Venus was retrograde, and I believe on Sunday the 17th, this will be the third time they've actually squared one another. So they're creating this thematic kind of contact point to one another, and it would very much apply back to the themes and things that have come up during Venus's retrograde. These can be things around how we overdo it. Jupiter is the planet that expands everything, and Venus, it's about our values, it's about relationships and love, it's about the joy that we have and things that we find joy in our life, and it's very much a sense that we could be overindulging in something. It could be overindulging in something Venus related. It could easily be food. It easily could be any of those sensual pleasures. It could even be spending. This is something that we want to potentially do in order to feel better about ourselves, because again, Venus is in Leo. Leo is a sign of, self-expression. It's very much could be like things that maybe we do in response to not feeling good about ourselves too. So be aware of that and think back to this potential pattern that's maybe been coming up for you in the last few months. This is a pattern. This is the third time it's happened, and it's giving us a sense to be aware of the pattern because of that. And perhaps it's something we're working diligently on, changing. I think it could also have to do with our beliefs, because at this time, Jupiter is the one that's retrograde. This is the third time, and this is the only time that it's this interaction has happened where Jupiter is now retrograde. Jupiter is going to also be about our beliefs, and it could very much be bringing up aspects of our beliefs that no longer are supporting us, supporting who we want to be. That self-actualization piece that's really going to be profoundly coming through in Leo. We want attention even for who we are, and there could be beliefs around that, about getting attention, about shining our light, that are being exposed by this particular aspect happening. And it really brings to light something personally that I've been working with, which is I'm one of those people that's an emotional eater. And I have been my whole life. And food, I have a lot of Taurus in my chart. And food is something that I go to feel better. And I think it's probably pretty common. A lot of people feel that way. And I've been using a frequency device called the Healy. If you're following me on Instagram, I've been talking with my friend Elizabeth a lot about this, doing some lives there. And I did an aura scan, because that's one of the cool things you can do with Healy, last week. And my top thing to work on that came up was literally around using food to feel better about myself. And I couldn't believe that it nailed it so perfectly. Like I said, it was a stressful week with starting homeschooling. I've been really examining this and, trying to find healthier ways to work with my emotions. So that's about it for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to plug my Chiron class. We'll be talking about Chiron, the wounded healer, how it plays out in our charts astrologically. Everyone has a Chiron. Actually, the asteroid Chiron wasn't founded until 1978. We'll talk all about that, the history of Chiron. It's very interesting. And we'll also look at some of the charts of people who have submitted their charts for the class, and how the Chiron energies play out. I'm also going to create a Telegram group for you guys to continue the conversation in. if you're interested, to help workshop the Chiron energies a bit more. And I find that, like many aspects of astrology, Chiron's something that you can continuously work with because, of course, you'll have all kinds of things happening with your Chiron as far as aspects go that will bring up the Chiron wound and also the Chiron return, which if you have your Chiron in Aries, you may be in the process of having your Chiron return. So we'll talk a little about that too. So yeah, if you want to join me for this class, it is $40 and all you have to do is email me at courtneybuk@gmail.com. Let me know you'd like to come. It's October 3rd at 7 p.m. I'll be doing a Zoom presentation for you and I'd love to have you. So that's it for the energies of this week, and I will be back next week on Monday with the weekly overview. I'll also have your new moon in Virgo video coming out soon. Have a wonderful week and take care. Thank you so much for joining me for this podcast. And if you have any comments you'd like to leave, I enjoy hearing from you and would love to communicate with you in the comments to hear how the energies are landing for you. And if you happen to have a friend who you think will enjoy this podcast, please do share it with them. I'm back every Monday with your weekly overview on my Substack account at courtneyingham.substack.com.